When you finally decide to walk away, you have to understand the weight of what that means. You're not just removing yourself from a place or a relationship. You're removing your presence, your energy, your care, your loyalty. You're taking with you every ounce of the goodness they took for granted. And here's the reality. Once you're gone, they will never see you again. Not the real you. Not the version of you that showed up for them when nobody else did. Not the one who forgave, who endured, who tried to understand. That person will be gone forever. People don't realize the finality of certain moments until it's too late. They think there will always be another chance, another conversation, another time to patch things up. But journey doesn't work like that. Trust, once broken beyond repair, doesn't rebuild itself. And when you have given all you can give, there comes a point where you don't just step back, you disappear from their story entirely. They will try to remember you in fragments. The sound of your laughter in a room they now find empty. The way you listened to them without judgment when the world was cruel to them. The little things you did to make their journey easier, even when you were tired yourself. Those memories will haunt them because they'll realize that no one else will ever replicate what you gave. Not exactly, not completely. This isn't about bitterness. It's about recognizing the value of your own soul. You can't keep pouring yourself into people who can't see your worth until your absence forces them to. And when that absence hits, it's not a temporary silence. It's a permanent closing of the door. You will go on to build new connections, new paths, and new joy. They, however, will be left staring at the place you used to stand, wishing they had treated you differently when they had the chance. Some will try to find you again, not because they've truly changed, but because the emptiness you left terrifies them. But you must remember the version of you they knew is gone. You've grown beyond the point where they can reach you. You've learned the lesson that their actions or their lack of them taught you. You can't unlearn that. You can't go back to pretending that their neglect or betrayal didn't wound you deeply. There's a kind of quiet power in vanishing from the journey of someone who thought you'd always be there. You're not slamming the door in anger. You're closing it with finality, knowing that sometimes the most loving thing you can do for yourself is to walk away and never look back. And in that decision, you reclaim your dignity, your peace, and your time. They will replay the moments when they should have apologized, should have appreciated you, should have fought for you. Those moments will eat away at them in the middle of the night when the world is quiet and there's no one around to distract them from their conscience. That's when they'll understand the depth of what they lost. Not just a person, but a presence that made their journey brighter, calmer, and more meaningful. And you will keep walking. You will heal. You will grow into someone even stronger, someone who won't settle for less than mutual respect and care. You will find people who see you, who value you while you're there, not after you're gone. You'll realize that the pain of leaving was far smaller than the pain of staying where you were never truly cherished. So when they finally realize they will never see you again, let that reality stand. Not out of cruelty, but out of self-respect. Because the person you were with them is not the person you are becoming now. And your future has no room for those who couldn't see your worth until you were no longer theirs to see. Do not let nostalgia fool you. Do not let guilt pull you back. What's ahead is far greater than what you've left behind. They had their chance and they squandered it. Now the only sight they will have of you will be in their memories. Memories that will remind them of what they lost and can never get back. You're not theirs anymore. You never will be again. And that is the quiet, unshakable reality that will follow them for the rest of their journey. When you choose to walk away, you must understand the gravity of what you're doing. This isn't a temporary retreat or a pause in the relationship. It's not a silent treatment designed to provoke a reaction. It is a final act of self-preservation, and it carries a weight that most people cannot comprehend until it's far too late. Once you go, you're not coming back because the circumstances that made your presence possible have been irreversibly broken. People often assume that if they leave the door cracked open, you'll wander back through it eventually. They believe familiarity will pull you back in, that the shared history will override your hurt, and that your loyalty will somehow override your sense of self-worth. But there comes a moment when you know deep in your bones that you can't be that person for them anymore. The trust has been shattered, the energy depleted, the emotional bank account overdrawn beyond repair. And when you make that choice, it's not about punishing them. It's about finally recognizing that you are worth more than what you've been given. The permanence of your absence is the part they won't see coming. They'll mistake your silence for a cooling off period, thinking they have time to fix things if they feel like it. They won't grasp that you've reached the point of no return until much later, when they realize you've already stepped into a new chapter without them. That is when it will dawn on them that the you took for granted. The one who answered every late-night message, who gave comfort without asking for it back, who forgave things that should never have been done, no longer exists in their world. Once you're gone, the you they knew will be a memory. And memories don't respond to calls or texts. They don't show up in times of crisis. They don't extend forgiveness a sixth or seventh time. You will have closed the emotional bridge that once connected you, and there will be no rebuilding it. Even if they try, even if they suddenly become everything they should have been before, you'll feel the difference. You'll know it's too late. Because the finality isn't just about physical absence, it's about the shift in your heart that makes returning impossible. This is the part that people who mistreat others rarely understand. They think the person they've hurt will always be available in some form, that forgiveness will always be an option. They don't see how their repeated neglect, dishonesty, or betrayal slowly erodes the foundation until there's nothing left to stand on. And when you finally walk away, it's not an act of sudden rage. It's the result of hundreds of small moments where they had the chance to do better and chose not to. Permanence also changes you. You begin to reclaim parts of yourself that were lost in the relationship. Your time, your energy, your focus. You start pouring that attention into your own growth rather than into patching holes in someone else's character. Slowly you realize that the peace you feel away from them is far greater than the chaos you endured beside them. And when you find that peace, you have no desire to go back and jeopardize it. They might not believe you at first when you say it's over. They might think they can charm their way back into your journey, offer an apology, or bring up old times as if nostalgia can undo damage. But every time they try, they'll be speaking to someone different. You've evolved in their absence. You've grown stronger, less tolerant of games, more protective of your space. You've learned that love without respect isn't love at all, and that loyalty without reciprocity is simply self-betrayal. The day they realize the permanence of your absence will not be a dramatic moment filled with shouting and tears. It will happen quietly. They will scroll through old messages or stumble across a photo, and it will hit them like a punch in the chest. You're not coming back. They'll reach for their phone and hesitate because deep down they'll know it won't matter. You've moved on in ways they can't touch. And this is why permanence is so powerful. It's not about anger or revenge. It's about choosing yourself. It's about finally accepting that some people are meant to be lessons, not lifelong companions. It's about realizing that you deserve to be surrounded by those who value your presence before it becomes a memory. When you walk away for good, you're not just leaving them behind. You're walking toward the version of yourself that you were always meant to be. Once you're gone, the chapter closes. The story between you doesn't get a sequel. The only version of you they'll ever see again will live in their memory, frozen in time, unreachable. And that reality, once it settles in, will be something they carry with them for the rest of their lives. Regret is a strange thing. It rarely arrives in the moment when it could make a difference. Instead, it shows up when the damage is already done, when the bridge has already burned, and when the person they should have valued is already out of reach. That's why they will realize too late. At the time when you were there offering them your time, your care, and your loyalty, they thought it was endless. They assumed you would always answer the phone, always be ready to help, always be there to listen. They mistook your patience for permanence, your kindness for weakness, and your forgiveness for an open invitation to keep doing what they were doing. People don't always appreciate value when it's standing right in front of them. They get comfortable. They get careless. They think that because you've forgiven before, you will forgive again. They think because you've stayed through the storms, you'll survive a few more. They don't realize that love and loyalty are not infinite when they are one-sided. Every moment you stay, despite being hurt, takes something from you. Every broken promise chips away at the trust you've built, and there comes a moment when you've had enough. When you look at the situation clearly and decide you can't keep paying the price for someone else's behavior, when you leave, they won't feel the weight of that loss immediately. At first, they might be in denial. They might think you're just taking space, cooling off, or trying to teach them a lesson. They may even distract themselves with other people or new experiences, convincing themselves they're fine. But that's the illusion that always breaks because no one else will treat them exactly the way you did. No one else will have your patience, your way of understanding them, your willingness to see past their flaws. And when they start comparing, the reality will cut deeper than they expect. Regret comes in waves. At first, it's a dull awareness that something is missing. Then it grows into a sharper realization. They can't just go back and fix it. They can't call you and pick up where you left off because you've changed. Your heart no longer beats for that connection in the same way. The moments they took for granted, your listening ear, your advice, your encouragement are gone, and no amount of wishing will bring them back. What makes this realization so painful for them is that it's entirely their doing. You didn't leave without reason. You didn't vanish overnight. You gave them opportunities to transformation, to step up, to meet you halfway, but they ignored those moments. They underestimated how much strength it takes for a loyal person to walk away. They assumed you'd never reach that point. That's why when you do, it shocks them. They thought they had more time. The tragedy for them is that by the time they truly understand your value, you'll be long gone. You won't be standing there waiting for them to notice. You'll have moved forward, grown stronger, and found people who treat you right from the beginning. They'll be left alone with the echoes of their own choices, realizing that they could have had a lifetime of your loyalty, but they traded it for temporary comfort, ego, or pride. This too late moment will follow them. It won't just be a single burst of regret. It will resurface over and over at unexpected times. They'll hear a song, see a photo, remember a small gesture you made, and it will hit them like a weight in the chest. They will wish they could turn back time, but wishing won't undo what's been done for you. This is the turning point where you finally see the reality. People who truly care don't need to lose you to realize your value. They know it while they have you. They protect it. They nurture it. They don't gamble with it, hoping you'll stick around no matter what. When someone realizes too late, it means they never understood what they had until it became a memory. And memories, no matter how vivid, can't replace presence. They can't bring back your voice, your touch, your laughter. They can't recreate the moments where you gave them the best parts of yourself. All they have now are images and fragments, and the knowledge that they let it all slip through their hands. That's why their realization will sting so deeply, because it's not just about losing you. It's about knowing that they had every chance to keep you and they wasted it. They will have to live with the fact that you were willing to give them everything and they gave you nothing but reasons to walk away. And that reality will stay with them long after you've moved on to a journey where you no longer have to beg anyone to see your worth. Memories have a way of becoming heavier with time, especially when they're tied to regret. When someone has lost you for good, they don't just lose the present version of you, they lose the ability to create new moments with you. All they're left with are the memories, and those memories will haunt them in ways they didn't expect. At first, they might recall the good times, fondly, telling themselves they can find something similar with someone else. But over time, those memories start to feel like chains, pulling them back to the reality of what they destroyed. They will remember the way you made them feel safe when journey was overwhelming. The way you listened without rushing them, without judgment. They'll remember your laugh in moments of joy and your calm presence in moments of chaos. They'll recall the little things you did, the text to check in, the way you noticed when they were off, the way you always seemed to know what they needed without them having to ask. These things will replay in their mind not as light, happy recollections, but as sharp reminders of what they will never experience again. The haunting comes because those memories will stand in contrast to their present reality. They will meet other people, maybe even try to replace you, but they'll keep finding that no one measures up. Not because you were perfect, but because you were real. You gave them something genuine, unfiltered, and irreplaceable. And when they realize that what they had with you cannot be duplicated, the weight of those memories will only grow. Over time, these memories will shift from comfort to torment. They won't be able to think about you without feeling the sting of guilt. Every flash of a moment you shared will be shadowed by the awareness that they had it and lost it, not by accident, but by choice, neglect, or betrayal. That kind of awareness is a slow burning punishment. It's not a loud, obvious pain. It's quiet. It hits in the small hours of the night when they can't sleep, or in the middle of a normal day when something triggers the thought of you. It could be as simple as passing by a place you used to go together, hearing a song you once played in the car, or catching a scent that reminds them of you. These small triggers will open the floodgates and suddenly they'll be back in those moments with you. Except now they can't reach for you, can't text you, can't hear your voice. All they can do is remember, and remembering without the ability to return is a kind of quiet torment they'll carry for years. Memories also distort over time, and this distortion will work against them. In your absence, they will start idealizing you even more because they no longer have the reality of your presence to take for granted. They'll remember you as kinder, more patient, more understanding than you probably were, because that's what guilt does. It sharpens the edges of their loss and blurs the flaws until you become in their mind the one person they should have kept close, but didn't. That version of you in their memory will be untouchable, unreachable, and impossible for them to find again. The haunting will also come from the unfinished conversations, the apologies they never gave, the gratitude they never expressed, the times they should have shown up for you but didn't. These gaps in the story will bother them because they can't be fixed. Now you've moved forward. You've closed the chapter. They are left with words they should have said echoing in their mind, knowing they will never have the chance to speak them to you. And then there's the memory of your absence, the day they realized you were truly gone. They will remember the last time you walked away, the last words you spoke, the moment they understood you weren't coming back. That moment will sit in the back of their mind, ready to surface when they least expect it, a reminder of the consequences of their actions. You won't be there to see this happen. You'll be building your journey, meeting new people, and creating new memories with those who value you in the moment, not after you're gone. But they will be stuck replaying the old ones. And the more they try to forget, the more those memories will come back uninvited to remind them of what they lost. The real punishment is not your anger, your silence, or your absence. It's the fact that they will never be able to stop remembering. And every memory will carry the same message. You had something rare, and you let it go. That is the kind of reality that never stops haunting a person. When you walk away from someone who has taken you for granted, you don't just leave their journey, you grow beyond their reach. This is something they rarely understand at first, because in their mind they assume you'll always be the same person they knew. They believe the version of you who forgave endlessly, who stayed through the storms, who sacrificed their own peace for someone else's comfort, will still be there if they ever decide to come back. What they don't see is that walking away marks the beginning of your transformation. And by the time they realize what they've lost, you'll have become someone they no longer know how to approach.
Growth after leaving a toxic, neglectful, or unbalanced relationship is not just about healing. It's about expansion. You start to reclaim the energy that was once drained by their demands, drama, or indifference. You start using that energy to build yourself up instead of patching up the cracks they caused. This growth is not loud or boastful. It's quiet, steady, and deeply personal. You begin to understand yourself in ways you couldn't when you were constantly putting someone else's needs above your own. With time, you start setting boundaries you never dared to set before. You learn to protect your peace, to say no without guilt, and to walk away from anything that feels wrong the moment it does. You stop seeking validation from the very people who made you feel unworthy because you've learned to validate yourself. These changes may seem subtle at first, but they create a distance between you and the person you once were, a distance the person you left behind can't cross.
This growth also changes the way you see them. When you were close to them, you might have justified their behavior, explained away their neglect, or convinced yourself they would eventually transformation. But growth clears the fog. You begin to see their actions for what they were. Choices, not mistakes, not oversights, choices they made repeatedly, even when they knew those choices hurt you. And once you see that reality, you can't unsee it. When they finally realize you're gone for good, they'll try to reach out, maybe with an apology, maybe with excuses, maybe by pretending nothing ever happened, but you won't respond the way you used to. You won't be drawn in by half-hearted efforts or nostalgic words. You'll recognize the pattern, and you'll know it's not worth stepping back into a cycle that cost you so much of yourself. This is when they'll understand that they can't get you back. Not because you're holding a grudge, but because you've outgrown the version of yourself that tolerated what they offered. They will find themselves speaking to a different person. You might be kinder to yourself now, more confident, more focused on your goals. You might have found people who treat you with respect from the very start, making it impossible for you to settle for less. Again, you've raised your standards, not just for relationships, but for how you allow anyone to treat you. And those standards aren't negotiable. The reality is, growth puts you in a new place in journey, a place they can't follow you to unless they've done their own work. And most people don't. They'll want the old version of you back because that version made things easy for them. But you've learned that making things easy for others at the expense of your own well-being is a kind of slow self-destruction. You've decided you won't live like that again. By the time they truly understand all this, the emotional distance between you will be so wide that even if they're standing right in front of you, they'll feel the gap. They'll see it in your eyes, hear it in your voice, sense it in the way you no longer give them the access they once had.
You might still be polite, maybe even cordial, but the openness they once enjoyed will be gone. You will no longer be theirs to lean on, to confide in, to take for granted. Your growth will be a silent reminder to them of what they lost. They'll notice the changes in you, how much more secure, fulfilled, and at peace you seem. And while they may compliment you or express admiration, inside they'll feel the sting of knowing they played no role in helping you become this stronger version of yourself. In fact, they were the reason you had to transformation. The painful reality for them is that your growth is irreversible. Once you've seen your own worth, you can't pretend you don't. Once you've experienced peace, you can't tolerate chaos. Once you've learned how powerful you are on your own, you can't go back to needing someone who only made you feel small. So, they will watch from a distance as you rise higher, knowing they can't follow you there. Not because you've locked them out, but because they never did the work to meet you at your new level. And that more than anything will be the moment they understand you have grown beyond their reach, and there is no road back to you. Some losses don't fade with time. They stay lingering in the background of a person's journey, resurfacing at unexpected moments to remind them of what they let slip away. When someone loses you for good, and when they finally realize they will never have access to you again, that loss becomes part of their story. It's not something they can just move past, because the consequences of their choices are permanent. The absence becomes a shadow that follows them. And no matter what they achieve, who they meet, or where they go, it's always there, reminding them of the moment they let something irreplaceable go. At first, they might try to convince themselves they're fine. They might bury themselves in distractions, new relationships, or work. They'll tell themselves that people come and go, that this is just another chapter closing. But deep down, they'll know this is different. This isn't a minor loss or a temporary silence. It's the end of something that mattered more than they admitted. And the human mind has a way of replaying moments that feel unfinished, unresolved, or undeserved. That's what will happen with you. They'll remember the way you looked at them when you believed in them, when you supported them without hesitation. They'll remember the times you defended them when others wouldn't, or the way you celebrated their wins without jealousy. These aren't just random flashes. They're reminders of the type of person you were, the role you played in their journey, and the fact that they may never meet someone who will do those things for them again. The loss will also follow them because it's not just about losing you. It's about what losing you says about them. It forces them to face their own shortcomings, their own inability to value someone until it's too late. Every time they think about you, they'll be reminded that they had every chance to keep you and chose not to. That self-inflicted wound cuts deeper than almost any other because it's rooted in their own decisions, not in bad luck or circumstance. And here's the part that will make it worse for them. Your journey will go on. You will heal, rebuild, and create a future that no longer includes them. They'll see it or at least hear about it, how you're happier, more at peace, and surrounded by people who appreciate you in ways they never did. That image of you thriving without them will burn in their mind. Not because they wish you harm, but because it confirms the reality they've been trying to avoid.
You never needed them, but they needed you. Even if they move on with someone else, the comparison will never leave them. They may not admit it out loud, but in quiet moments, they'll measure others against you. And no one will match up. Not because you were perfect, but because you were genuine and you gave them something they can't replicate. They'll find little reminders in ordinary things. A phrase you used to say, a way you used to laugh, a habit you had, and those reminders will feel like ghosts, present but unreachable. Over time, this loss won't necessarily make them miserable every day, but it will become a kind of permanent ache. It will be there in the background, in the silences between conversations, in the spaces between new experiences. It will resurface on anniversaries of certain dates without them even realizing why. It will creep into their mind at night when they're alone, making them replay conversations they wish had gone differently, apologies they wish they'd made, and moments they wish they'd cherished instead of ignored. The hardest part for them will be knowing there's no way back. They could apologize, they could beg, they could promise to transformation, but it won't matter. Not because you're cruel, but because you've moved on in a way that makes reconciliation impossible. You've built a journey where they no longer fit, and you've done it out of necessity, not spite. That's what makes this loss so permanent. There is nothing they can offer now that would undo the fact that they didn't offer it when it mattered most. In time, they may stop trying to reach out, but the thoughts will never completely stop. You will always be the what if in the back of their mind, the person they could have had a lifetime with if they had acted differently. And that's why this loss will follow them forever, because it's not just about missing you, it's about missing the version of themselves they could have been with you by their side. That kind of loss is a slow burn. It doesn't explode in one dramatic moment. It smolders over years, fed by memories, regrets, and the inescapable reality that some mistakes can never be undone. And no matter how much they try to forget, some part of them will always know losing you was the turning point they'll regret for the rest of their.
If Denzel Washington's words moved you today, don't just stop here. Subscribe now and join a community built on strength, growth, and unstoppable motivation. Together, let's rise higher every single day.